On billboards at Miami International Airport. That's their headliner. She is their Elvis, basically, that keeps people coming. Their entire ideology, everything that they say to people that they pretend is good science or biology, is basically dedicated to keeping her there because she brings in the revenue. We have some ideas where they could make a transition into a new kind of marine park, a high-tech marine park that could have some amazing exhibits with IMAX theaters, with wraparound sound chambers, with simulated undersea experiences, traveling with the whales from within your seat. You'd be in a pod of orcas. There could be some thrilling, very exciting, and highly educational exhibits that I think are the marine park of the future. We have those suggestions. But in any case, it is not in Lolita's best interest to remain there. Out in the wild, her family travels constantly. They never slow down, even when resting. They line up side by side in their family formations and travel at a slow speed, very steadily. Then when they wake up, they get boisterous, they get excited. It's a festive experience, especially if they meet up with other pods. When they've been apart, even if it's only been a day, they get together and they party. They jump up, they slap their tails, they slap their dorsal fins, they breach. It's a very exciting time. Lolita doesn't have the space to do that. Of course, she does amazing things. She can breach out of the water on cue. She has that energy somehow, but she doesn't have the room to keep up that level of exercise. She tries, though, and this is something that is incredibly insightful into her character. She does laps. She does exercise. She races around and around, throws water out of the tank, but she gets her exercise that way. That's the only way she can. It's doing one constant U-turn in that tight little tank. So that's how she maintains her stamina and I think her ability to survive after all the others have died years and years ago.
Since that fateful day in 1970, waves of controversy have pounded the shores of both Washington State and the city of Miami, as legions of Lolita supporters joined Garrett in his plea with the park to build a larger tank or retire their star attraction. Heather Lishan, operations manager for the Animal Rights Foundation of Florida, also known as ARF, has made Lolita's liberation a top priority.
The Animal Rights Foundation of Florida got involved in the campaign to free Lolita because she's really symbolic of all animals in captivity.
If Lolita were retired to the ocean, could she readapt to her old environment? What are her chances of survival? Slim, according to Arthur Hertz, CEO of Wometco, owners of the Miami Seaquarium. He and other officials believe she is safer where she is. Requests to interview them on the issues have been denied.
All of them, 100% of them, can be readapted to a more normal environment. That is, taken out of this concrete chlorinated box and put into a natural sea pen where Lolita could once again experience the natural rhythms of the sea and the tide and the current and hear her family, and then possibly one day actually go there and connect up with them. That's not a very difficult thing to do, you know. Arthur Hertz would tell you, well, Lolita's going to die if we do that. Going to die in transport, in the airplane. The fact is, this captive industry moves their whales around, SeaWorld, for example, from their parks in California, Florida, and so forth, Texas, all the time. None have ever been lost in transport, so that isn't a problem. As far as Lolita dying, trying to connect up with her family, well, look where she is today. She's on death row, in the process of dying. My biggest fear is that they're just going to keep Lolita there and keep doing the shows until the day she dies. They're just going to keep milking every dollar they can out of this animal, and that's really sad.
Once these animals are taken into captivity, it's a death sentence. They don't release them. They don't let them work. Well, okay, we're going to let you work for 15 years, then we're going to retire and you can leave. These animals go into these facilities and literally are worked to death. They're worked till they're dead, and then they go get another one. And they work that one till it's dead.
They occasionally will put out this dusty old scale model of this new tank they're going to build.
Oh, this is just something to put them in. We're going to build them this lavish, big, huge thing, and they came out with that model that they've been dragging around for 20 years.
Lolita, the killer whale, has been part of the Miami Seaquarium family for more than 3 decades. We have secured construction permits and plans are underway to build a new habitat for her.
It's the big lie. And if you were to go to Key Biscayne Chamber of Commerce and talk to them, they will tell you they will never approve another tank on Key Biscayne.
In fact, in January, they admitted on the air that the tourism revenues are down. They don't even have the cash if they intended to do it in the first place.
They're simply going to do a show and another show and another show and keep doing that until she dies. That's their plan.
The controversy over Lolita's retirement increased after the 1993 release of the Warner Brothers film Free Willy, in which a killer whale was captured in Puget Sound, sold to a marine park, and finally rescued by a young boy. Ironically, Willy, played by the real whale Keiko, was living in a rundown park in Mexico City before the film's production. But due to efforts of producer Richard Donner, along with the Free Willy Foundation and the Humane Society of the United States, Keiko has become the first captive killer whale to be successfully retired to his home waters.
Keiko, the Free Willy whale, is back in his home, and he has defied all of those naysaying predictions that he wouldn't like the ocean, that he would prefer human contact. He immediately explored every nook and cranny. His whole body language improved. He began preaching, he got very, very active, and he has stayed that way.
Scientists continue to monitor Keiko. After being released from the Icelandic sea pen, he swam over 800 miles to a Norwegian fjord, where he is foraging and socializing with wild pods, and finally making his own decisions. The Seaquarium recently applied for a permit to recapture Keiko and bring him to Miami, presumably to put him on display with Lolita. They claim that he's at risk to himself and the boaters and should be rescued. The Norwegian government shot the Seaquarium down. Officials in charge of Keiko's welfare say they'll do everything in their power to keep him from going back to any tank. They're hoping that Keiko is setting new precedents for other captive whales, like Lolita.
He has responded beautifully. He is healthier, he is stronger than he has ever been, and he's gone out and visited with the whales, traveled along with them. The trouble is he hasn't located his close family. With Lolita's situation, that's a picnic. There's no problem, no issue at all. We know her family. We watch them on a daily basis 6 months of every year. From the vocalizations that Lolita makes in her tank, both under the water and sometimes even through the air, those have been recorded and they've been matched up with the vocalizations of the wild whales. Her mother is one of several females, some of which are still alive today, that are in what is known as the L25 subpod. So she is a member of that matriline, that multi-generational group of whales. So it would be no problem at all to get them in close enough range to hear each other, and then that vocal recognition would take over.